If this series is something you can't get into, I don't think anyone's going to blame you. But if the only comments you have about it are the animation or the voices, you're not even trying to understand why people like it, because we know.
Knock, knock, it's me, the Ratboy genius.
You may see someone defend it jokingly, you may even find someone who wouldn't want it any other way, despite knowing that truly this isn't breathtaking animation. But nobody who grew to like this weird web series grew to like it because they think the animation is good. It's possible they found something charming about the art style. Sometimes something just being incredibly different from other art out there is enough to make people cling to it. But I would be surprised to meet a fan who isn't aware that the animation is not the highlight here. The charm of Ratboy genius does exist, and today I'm going to explain what it is to the best of my ability. The average fan of this series will give it props for two things. 1, the music. 2, the story. Now I don't think you will see that if you start on Ratboy's Kingdom episode 1. The very start of the series feels more like a ground to experiment on, rather than telling a compelling narrative. In fact, I think telling a grand story is something that only the two most recent installments accomplish, that being The Flood and Starship Genius. Two shows that intertwine telling two individual stories and one grand story. That isn't to say the others aren't worth checking out. Hell, I'd say every video on the channel is worth checking out. But it does help to find the right place to start. I feel very similar about another web series, Edsworld. I think every episode is worth watching even though the early ones aren't very well made. It's charming to see the growth of Ed Gold's work over the years, who he was then versus who he was in 2011. If I had to get someone hooked on that show, I wouldn't want to start them off with the 2004 Christmas special. I would probably want to start them off with Hammer and Fail or WTF Future, as they are more likely to grab someone's interest. I feel the same way about the early Ratboy Genius videos. If these were the first videos I watched on the channel, I can't imagine I'd be interested in watching more, but the first video I saw on this channel is the first video I think most people saw on this channel.
Potato garnishes. Potato garnishes. I love potato garnishes.
This video became a huge meme and shitpost for a lot of reaction channels to put in their thumbnails, which don't get me wrong, I won't knock on that sort of thing as long as you're being transformative about it. I would personally love to give Ratboy Genius the Mackle and Zatch treatment one day. For those of you who have no idea what that means, which I'm assuming is the majority of you, it's a Rift series that me and my friend Zach do, but I would want to do it in a way that doesn't replace the experience to new potential viewers. Some good can come from things like that, as Little King John was just a big joke to me, but it is eventually what got me hooked on the series. Not unlike the work of Nick Fedorov, someone who I'm pretty sure has been paired with potato knishes in these reaction videos, I really like how unsettling this was. And I find all these meme pictures of Little King John in them and spammed them to friends who also were aware of the video. I thought it was funny and it didn't go much further than that. But during my searches, I did start to see an interesting cycle of fan art that was so good that I started to realize that there were unironic fans of this channel. I kinda saw the whole existence of the series and characters to be either a shitpost created by someone who was self-aware, or someone who wasn't self-aware but the internet was having a good time with it, so who really cares? The more I looked into it, the more I became somewhat intrigued by it. I tried to watch the videos, and yeah, no, I wasn't getting it. I tried to start at the very beginning, which again, not a great idea when you're trying to get into someone's online work. If it's a TV show, there's a good chance that the people making it already have experience, and season 1 could just be as good as the rest of the series, if not just a little worse, as they are just figuring themselves out. With web shows, as I've mentioned before, it can be a rough start. Watching older videos on this channel is a treat once you've grown to like Ryan Dorn's work. I then checked out the series with Little King John in it, which is the Minecraft Adventure series. I could not get into that one either, honestly. I just was not seeing what everyone else saw, but I still kind of like this Little King John guy, and it seems that is a normal reaction to have when watching this series.
All of this fan art is so amazing, but the character that has captured the imagination of our fans the most is Little King John.
Oh, come on!
Oh, man.
Yes. It is true.
And let me say that uncanny Potato Knishes song is far from the creepiest bit featuring this little rat.
With my moon rocks, I can make erasers. There are many things that need to be erased.
So I skimmed the series, kind of understood what it was all about, and moved on. But not before hitting subscribe. The channel had gained my interest enough. I wasn't a fan per se, but I could appreciate the people defending the channel, and even though I didn't see what they saw, I was having fun with it, so why give the show a hard time? At least I don't think I ever left any mean comments. If I did, I'm sorry, but I normally didn't do anything like that. I will be perfectly honest though, even after enjoying the parts that I said I enjoyed, I didn't get it at all. I didn't even really get what people meant by liking the music. I was too focused on the text-to-speech voices to even really notice the music. Then a little later, the Flood Part 1 was uploaded with Little King John's name in the title. Oh, I had to check this out. And then something happened. I kinda fucking loved it. I was genuinely intrigued by the story of the villain from the last series having to flee his kingdom as it was destroyed. This greedy and pretentious character now lost everything, but despite this had a fighting spirit to go on. I was loving every second of this. I got so lost in what it was doing with the story and started filming the blinks myself with what this series could look like with a better budget. With animators, with voice actors, I was fully immersed in something that looked like this. I think something that really nails this point I'm trying to make in is the animatic for episode 3, created by the very talented Kasel? I don't know. There's the channel, link in the description. They took some creative liberties with Ryan's animation, but kept the original audio and made something I swear would get so many more people hooked if the entire series looked this good. But what amazes me about this is basically what I imagine when I watch the show. I mean, it's going to be a little different, of course, we are different people, but these expressions, these environments, for fans of this series, these visuals are there without actually appearing physically. That's how immersed fans of the series get, and because of that, the fan art for the show is really cool. The show's incredibly simple Blender animation allows people to kind of determine how they view the characters or how they would have gone about designing them. And the creator of this series is very supportive of all of this. It's honestly a really wholesome community and I love it. Hell, it's even gotten some love from some of YouTube's bigger names like Oni and G or the lovely people who made Shrek Retold. Going back to talking about The Flood, I was also really understanding the love for the show's music now. The theme for The Flood is fucking awesome, without a doubt my favorite music he's composed for this channel, and I love how frequently it's reincorporated throughout the series, always finding a new way to help it match the tone of the scene. Look, I don't know a lot about music, so I don't know how much merit me calling Ryan Doran a musical genius holds, but I kind of think he is one. There's other good music in both The Flood and all of his other projects, but I just can't get over how much I love this theme music. It works in so many ways. It works as a theme for this grand adventure. It works as a theme for tragedy. It's just so great, and I never get tired of it despite how frequently he uses it in the show. There's a really great moment in Starship Genius where the two stories intertwine, and Starship Genius's theme is mixed with the Flood theme. There's another really great track titled The Ark, which is also reincorporated a fair amount. It's a close second for me. I really love the entire soundtrack though. I think it's probably the only time I've ever purchased a soundtrack for a web series. It's a really good soundtrack, and if you get the digital album, you get to enjoy these tracks without the voices. The text-to-speech voices I understand can be a turn-off, but I got used to them over time, and really only some of them are text-to-speech. Some of them are clearly actual voices being done by the creator. I don't think you can get the Caterpillar Minister's voice through text-to-speech. It is nice to have an option to turn them off, though, when listening to the soundtrack. I think my favorite specific track of his is The Portal Room, which, big surprise, is another track from The Flood. I'm praising The Flood a lot here, but Starship Genius also has really incredible music. It's a close second in terms of the soundtracks as a whole. I could even see a lot of people preferring it. The Portal Room is just such an intense moment that has my favorite reprisal of the show's main theme. It just sounds so grand, and every time I hear it, I'm just, damn, I wish someone would animate this. Hold on, I'm gonna spend 5 years learning how to animate, and then I'll be back. I don't think the Mackle and Zatch animations are going to cut it. But aside from the reprisal, I just love the opening of this music. It's used in a scene where Little King John is questioning his friendship with another character who might be holding back information from him. And it's just so mysterious and deceiving, and I really like how it sounds. And then it works itself into something more motivational as he finds this portal room and he's learning how to use the portal, and then bam, just a great way to end it. I don't think that there's a single series that has made me analyze music this much, but it is one of the highlights of the show. It is what people seem to like the most about the show. But I really like the writing too. I really like these characters. I really like the story that they're telling. The Flood is just such a good time. I love how simple The Flood is in comparison to how complicated Starship is, but both work really well together. When I opened this video, I said if the only comments you have about it are the animation and the voices, you're not even trying to understand why people like it. Just to be clear on one thing, that does not mean I think that the animation can't be too much of a turnoff for some people. Realistically speaking, there are people who won't want to look at this for an extended period of time, and I wouldn't blame anyone for that. When you look at Starship Genius, it's easy to dismiss it as 30 minutes of someone making something in Blender, but no, it took much longer than that. And if you ever made anything on your own, you would know that. There's tons of assets in Starship Genius. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that this animation is actually good and it looks professional, because no, it doesn't. But god damn it, he is putting an honest effort in. Every light you see flashing is something he had to put time into, every background is something he had to put time into, every individual finger movement to play the piano is something that he had to put time into. Look at some of the things he built in Minecraft. These sets are incredible. I know anyone can build something in Minecraft, and just using it for backgrounds might come off as lazy to someone, but this feels like the exact opposite of lazy to me. This feels like he understood what he was capable of and went all out with it. Look how many characters are on screen, look at all the stuff he made for this series. When I do those stupid Mackle and Zatch animations, I know they aren't great, it's just heads jiggling with expressions changing, but that still takes a lot of time to make, because I'm doing it on my own, there's no team, and Ryan Doran is also doing it all on his own. Making art without a team is a huge task no matter how it ends up looking. This isn't to say that Ratboy Genius can't be criticized at all, because that would be ridiculous. Anything can be criticized. If you just can't get into the series, I hear ya. I'd recommend giving it a shot, but a few years ago I tried to and I couldn't get into it either. I don't know what else to say other than I did eventually see what the other fans saw. The best way I could defend the show's visuals is that it's the terms that the show exists on. If he did take time to hire animators or try to learn more about using Blender, it would probably take a lot of time away from his music and writing, which is the very thing people grew to love about the series in the first place. Or at the very least, it might mean we wouldn't even get a quarter of the content we have now. And honestly, I'll take the Flood for what it is, rather than waiting for it to maybe come out one day. But honestly, despite how many times I've mentioned the quality of the animation in this video, I am fine with the way it looks too. I've already explained why a little bit, but I don't know, it's his style, it's not like anything else out there, and I think you would find fans of the series who wouldn't want it to change. I think we do live in an age where art that isn't good by traditional standards is getting more love. Tails Got Troll has been getting a lot more love lately, Derek Savage gets more support than he probably deserves with his Cool Cat movies. It's not about the story itself, but the story of the person who created it and how their personally affects the final product. So if you ever come across Ratboy or anything else weird online, don't dismiss it right away. It feels like don't judge a book by its cover is one of the first lessons we learned during our time here, but we often forget about it. If you don't understand it or even want to critique it in a helpful way, that's perfectly fine. A lot of times independent creators just appreciate that someone is talking about their work in the first place. But you don't want to be the pretentious guy who said no to Bohemian Rhapsody just because it was a little weird, do you? My stance is even if some features don't reach the quality that we kind of expect nowadays, it's okay as long as it's compensating in some other way, and I think Ratboy Genius more than does that. I really love this show, I would highly recommend it. Don't start from the beginning, the Minecraft series is probably a good one to start with. But ultimately, I got into the show in my own weird way, and you might need to do the same thing. So go into it with an open mind and see what you get out of it.